It was a seemingly ordinary summer's day in June 2019 when Cynthia Hoffman set out on a hike with friends in the majestic wilderness of Thunderbird Falls, Chugiak, Alaska. But what started as a thrilling adventure soon turned into a nightmare as she mysteriously vanished without a trace. The search for Hoffman was intense, with authorities and volunteers scouring the rugged terrain for any clues. And just when hope was starting to dwindle, a shocking discovery was made. Hoffman's lifeless body was found on the banks of the Eklutna River, bound with duct tape and fatally shot in the back of the head. What could have led to such a horrific end to a simple hike with friends? As the investigation into Hoffman's death unfolded, secrets were uncovered and the truth was revealed, leaving a trail of devastation and heartbreak in its wake. This is the story of a senseless crime that rocked the Alaskan wilderness and shattered the lives of those involved. In today's digitally connected world, social media platforms have become an integral part of our daily lives. From sharing our thoughts and experiences to staying connected with our loved ones, social media has transformed the way we communicate and interact with the world. Despite the benefits of social media, its power can also lead to devastating consequences. With the rise of cyberbullying, online hate speech, and even murder, the darker side of social media has become a growing concern for society. Anchorage, Alaska, a picturesque city known for its stunning trails, breathtaking glaciers, and thriving wildlife. At first glance, it may appear like your typical American city, but upon closer inspection, it reveals some truly unique aspects of urban life in Alaska. The city's population of 300,000 residents share their spaces with moose, bald eagles, bears, and the occasional lynx. It's a harmonious balance between man and nature where residents can wake up to the sound of an eagle's screech or the sight of a grazing moose in their backyard. However, despite the city's idyllic surroundings, nothing could have prepared Anchorage for the dark side of social media. Cynthia Hoffman was born in Anchorage, Alaska on October 8, 1999, to parents Timothy and Barbara Hoffman. She possessed a heart of gold and was a beloved friend to many. Like most young people, she yearned to belong and went above and beyond to show her love to those she cared for. When she met Denali Bramer at their Anchorage high school, she felt like she had found a kindred spirit, and the two became inseparable. Cynthia even posted photos of them goofing around at a school dance on her Instagram page, calling Denali her BFF. On June 2nd, Cynthia excitedly left her Anchorage home to meet up with Denali and a group of friends for a hike. The air was crisp, the sun was shining, and the promise of adventure filled her heart. But as the day wore on and the sun began to set, Cynthia's father, Timothy Hoffman, began to feel an uneasy knot form in his stomach. By evening, his worry had turned into full-blown panic as he frantically called his daughter's phone, desperate for any sign of her whereabouts. The night wore on, and by 11:30 p.m., Hoffman still hadn't heard from Cynthia. He knew in his gut that something was terribly wrong. With a heart heavy with fear, Hoffman called the police, but was dismayed to be told that he would have to wait a full 24 hours to report his daughter missing. He refused to wait that long and called back after just 12 hours, determined to do whatever it took to find his beloved daughter. As news of Cynthia's disappearance began to spread throughout Anchorage, Timothy Hoffman's phone lit up with a text from Cynthia's best friend, Denali.
As I hope she comes home safely, she's my best friend. I'm starting to get worried. I know she will come home safe.
The message was wrought with emotion, and Denali expressed her deep concern for Cynthia's safety, hoping that she would be found soon. She explained that the last time she had seen Cynthia was when she dropped her off at a nearby park at Cynthia's request. Timothy appreciated the support and was grateful for any information that might lead to his daughter's whereabouts. Despite the growing sense of dread in his heart, he held out hope that Cynthia would soon be found and brought back home safely. As the hours turned into days, Timothy Hoffman's search for his missing daughter intensified. He scoured every inch of the woods in town, desperately seeking any sign of Cynthia. But on June 4th, the worst possible news was delivered to him. Cynthia's body had been found on the bank of the Eklutna River. She had been bound with duct tape and fatally shot. The tragedy shook the tight-knit community.
We're here to just show support to the family, let them know that we care. We're not happy with what's happened, that this young life has been taken from us. This is a life that should have been protected.
If we help one kid or one parent to ask a kid what you're doing, where you're going, who you're with, let me look at your phone. If we help one kid, we've accomplished everything. The town of Anchorage is pissed off at what's happening.
And everyone was left wondering who could have done such a heinous act. But just 2 days later, investigators dropped a bombshell. One of the 6 people responsible for Cynthia's death was her own best friend, Denali Bramer. The news left everyone in disbelief. How could someone who Cynthia considered her closest confidant be involved in her murder? The revelation added a chilling layer of complexity to the case, and the community struggled to come to terms with the horrifying truth. As the investigation progressed, more horrifying details began to emerge, revealing a web of deception, manipulation, and betrayal that went far deeper than anyone could have imagined.
Good evening. A daughter's disappearance and a web of lies ends in heartbreak.
Channel 2's investigative reporter Jill Burke has more on a father's quest for answers and how the cover-up of his daughter's murder fell apart. Jill?
Mike and Alexis, police found the body of 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman last night near Thunderbird Falls. She was bound, shot, and placed in a river, killed by a younger teenage boy as her friend stood by.
It all began when Denali started communicating with a man she met online, going by the name Tyler. Denali, who used the alias Angel, became infatuated with Tyler, and the two engaged in hundreds of messages, all while hiding behind their fake identities, a practice commonly referred to as catfishing. But as the messages continued, the conversations took a dark turn. Tyler started to reveal his darker side, and the topic turned to something much darker: kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder. It was an online relationship gone horribly wrong. As time went by, Denali's infatuation with Tyler spiraled out of control, and her new online friend started making increasingly disturbing demands. Tyler, who claimed to be a millionaire from Kansas, promised Bramer a staggering $9 million to carry out his sick and twisted desires, and she agreed. And in a shocking turn of events, their first victim turned out to be Bramer's own friend, Cynthia Hoffman. Several weeks before Cynthia's murder, the two began discussing a plan to rape and murder someone in Alaska, then send him videos and photographs. Bramer recruited 4 of her friends, Caleb Leyland, 19, Caden McIntosh, 16, and 2 other juveniles to help carry out the heinous plan. They were promised a cut of the money if they helped orchestrate and commit the murder. The day started out innocently enough. Cynthia thought she was going on a hike with a group of friends, but little did she know her fate was sealed. Denali and her group of friends borrowed a friend's car and drove to the Thunderbird Falls Trail, a picturesque hike that would lead them to a stunning 200-foot waterfall. They decided to take a detour, following a path that ran alongside the Eklutna River, leading to a secluded clearing that was the perfect spot for their heinous act. Cynthia had no idea she was being lured to her death. Her worst fears were realized when the group reached an isolated clearing. Suddenly, they attacked. They bound her hands, feet, and mouth with duct tape, leaving her completely helpless. Then, in a cruel turn, McIntosh took Bramer's 9mm handgun and aimed it at the back of Cynthia's head. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the forest as they left her lifeless body in the river. The group attempted to destroy the evidence and flee the scene, leaving Cynthia alone and forgotten, thinking they had gotten away with their crime.
Good morning to you. Cynthia Hoffman was lured to this trail under the guise of going for a hike. One day after she was reported missing, police found her body bound with duct tape along a riverbed not too far from where we are right now. What makes this story all the more disturbing, according to authorities, all 5 teenagers were motivated by money promised to one of them by a man met online, thousands of miles away.
My daughter was an angel. She was daddy's girl.
Addressing the court, Hoffman's father said his daughter was developmentally disabled and just wanted to be accepted.
The only thing I know is that my daughter trusted these people. My daughter just wanted friends. Now I have to bury her. And that is wrong.
On June 6th, 2 days after Hoffman's body was found, Bramer was brought in for questioning. At first, she claimed that the trio had gone to Thunderbird Falls to take some photos, innocently wrapping themselves in duct tape. She claimed to have no idea that McIntosh planned to shoot Hoffman. But as detectives began to unravel the truth, they discovered a shocking tale of deception and betrayal, and a more disturbing truth was uncovered. The police obtained a warrant to search Bramer's iPhone and found child pornography. In a text message sent to Tyler, who was identified as Babe in Bramer's contact list, she had detailed her plans to sexually assault a teenage girl and film it for him. Tyler's true identity was finally uncovered, revealing a shocking twist in the story. It turns out that Tyler was not a wealthy man from Kansas, but actually a 21-year-old man named Darren Shillmiller from Indiana who had been catfishing Bramer all along. She had been unknowingly sending photos and videos to a man who looked nothing like the one in the profile picture he had used, but that was just the beginning of the deception. As the investigation continued, it was discovered that Shillmiller had not only recruited Bramer to commit the heinous murder, he had also directed her to sexually assault 2 minors, one of whom was 8 or 9 years old, and another who was 15. FBI agents were unable to find videos of the younger child, though they did find that she had sent Shillmiller child pornography that featured the 15-year-old victim.
Shillmiller, a 21-year-old from a small farming community in Indiana, described by people who knew him as awkward and shy.
I don't think anybody thought he would ever kill anybody, but the child pornography, definitely, he had a problem there.
Jaden Poley went to middle school and high school with Shillmiller, and she told KTUU he'd had a reputation for being a little off and increasingly a little creepy.
He's asked numerous girls from my high school for pictures of their kids.
KTUU found numerous online profiles for Shillmiller spanning many years across multiple social media platforms. The common theme, a strong desire to find friends and connect with women. Cheyenne Arnold told 2 Investigates she was one of them. She claims she was the victim of a Shillmiller online profile bait and switch in January. She said at one point, using the name Austin, Shillmiller confessed, quote, "I have a problem I want to tell someone and I don't know how." And he then asked for pictures, she said, of her daughters during diaper changes as a condition of revealing the secret. Arnold caught on and cut things off. That behavior echoes what prosecutors say Shillmiller did to Bramer, and what several people have told KTUU was an open secret they didn't recognize as a deepening problem.
I think most people just thought it was because he didn't know. Like he was just slow.
Now, they're looking at what they feel was the odd vibe Shillmiller gave off in hindsight, wondering how things could have gotten so twisted, how he could possibly have had a role, as prosecutors allege, in a murder thousands of miles away.
The shocking truth behind the murder plot orchestrated by Shillmiller and Bramer continued to unravel as federal agents and members of the Indiana State Police got involved in the case. In a stunning confession, Shillmiller admitted to posing as Tyler and deceiving Bramer. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Shillmiller revealed that he and Bramer had spent weeks meticulously planning the murder of Cynthia Hoffman, and that he had personally selected her as the victim. What's more, Schillmiller disclosed that Bramer had kept him apprised of the murder as it unfolded through Snapchat, sending him chilling photos and videos of Hoffman tied up and, later, her lifeless body. Court documents said that Schillmiller further admitted to discussing a second murder with Bramer and that he attempted to blackmail Bramer after the murder to force her to sexually assault people.
The investigation led the FBI to a house here in Harrison County. Neighbors say they're shocked and that this just goes to show you never know what's going on behind closed doors.
In a quiet neighborhood, hearing someone being arrested by the FBI and what they was arrested for is appalling.
This is the house on Rooster Church Road in New Salisbury where federal investigators say Darren Schillmiller was living. Investigators say he made a fake profile online and started an online relationship with 18-year-old Denali Bremer in Alaska. Investigators say Schillmiller offered to pay her at least $9 million to kill someone and send him pictures and videos of the crime.
As a mother, it scares me to think someone was living down the road with those kind of intentions.
Police say Bremer recruited 4 other teenagers to help her. The group is accused of killing 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman and dumping her body into a river. Investigators say a series of text messages led them to Schillmiller. Court documents state Schillmiller told Bremer to sexually assault a child and a teenager and sent him pornographic videos of those victims.
It gives me chills up my spine. That's scary.
People who live in this quiet Harrison County neighborhood say if the accusations are true, they're glad Schillmiller is in custody.
That's shocking of how far someone can reach another person just over the internet.
The murder of Cynthia Hoffman had sent shockwaves throughout the community, and now the net was closing in on those responsible. Schillmiller, Bramer, and McIntosh had been indicted on murder and conspiracy charges, with Alaska authorities determined to bring them to justice, but they were not the only ones who would face the consequences of their actions. As the investigation continued, it was discovered that Caleb Leyland had allegedly lent Bramer and McIntosh his car in exchange for a promised $500,000. Leyland was also indicted on charges of conspiracy, as were 2 juveniles whose names had not been released. The tragic story of Cynthia Hoffman's murder continued to unfold, with her father, Timothy Hoffman, struggling to make sense of the senseless act. As he sifted through posts circulating on social media, he could only speculate as to what motivated Bramer to take his daughter's life. Jealousy was a possibility, but it had not been confirmed by the police. What Timothy did know was that his daughter had been desperate for social connection, to be liked and accepted by others. And in Bramer, at least initially, Cynthia had found someone who offered her that friendship. But it was all a cruel deception, one that Timothy believes Bramer had used to manipulate her. Timothy's gut feeling had told him something was wrong, and tragically, he was proven right. His daughter had placed her trust in people who were willing to betray her in the most heinous way imaginable. Now, he was left to mourn the loss of his beloved daughter and wonder how this could have happened.
The only thing I can imagine is she was yelling her daddy's name. And it goes through my head over and over and over again. This time I couldn't keep my daughter safe. I feel that I let her down. Because I keep all my kids safe.
Bramer, now 22 years old, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, without a plea deal for a reduced sentence. Her sentencing is set for August 22, 2023, and the sentencing range for the murder of Cynthia Hoffman is 30 to 99 years in prison. Schillmiller was arrested and extradited to Alaska, and now 24 years old, he remains jailed on murder charges in the case, and a federal child pornography case in which Bramer is also charged. Charges against Bramer's 2 alleged accomplices in the murder, 23-year-old Caleb Leyland and 19-year-old Caden McIntosh, are also still pending. The heartbreaking story of Cynthia Hoffman highlights the all-too-real dangers of both real-life and online deception. It serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that can arise from these forms of deceit, especially when they intersect. The tragic loss of Cynthia's life underscores the importance of being vigilant against those who would exploit our trust, both in the real world and online. We must remain vigilant and always be aware of the potential risks of interacting with strangers, both offline and on the internet.